Are you a chiropractor with a struggling practice, having a hard time finding and keeping patients? Is your staff falling short of expectations? I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer, and DC Trainings has the answers that you need. So tune in now and find out how. Hello, everybody. Welcome to DC Trainings. I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer. I'm happy to be with you today. Today is a big topic. We're going to talk about team accountability. But before I get into that topic, aside from just saying thank you for taking the time to join me on this beautiful Thursday, we just had some nice fresh rain in Santa Cruz. So wherever you are, I hope the weather is nice and the sun is smiling. So getting into our topic today, I'm going to hold off on for just a minute because I had a great event last night. I went to a California Chiropractic Association event, CCA event, and it was at my office. We had a guest speaker. His name is Dr. Dan Murphy, and many of you know him, Dr. Murphy. He's been a chiropractor for, I think, 42 years, and he teaches at Life Chiropractic College West. He's also top of the top, kind of almost a gold standard for research in chiropractic. He just knows studies and research and authors and books. And so he's just a wealth of information and shared with us. And we had a great time. So I'm going to actually share my screen because I just want to show you a couple of pictures from last night. And then we'll come back to team accountability in just a minute. But here's an example from last night. We just, as I said, we had a great time. Every seat in my office was completely filled. We had pulled chairs out of rooms. It was just a great turnout, all chiropractors, all excited. And we spent the whole evening talking about chiropractic. There's another picture here, a little different angle. And here he is getting into the nuts and bolts of actually, he was talking about nutrition, and actually he covered a whole wide array of topics. So had a great time. And so with that, I just want to mention that we are going to have another live event coming up in Santa Cruz at my office on January 13th. And that'll be the DC Trainings Module 1, where we'll go through all the essential components or steps for team development. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a great seminar. Actually, I'll jump ahead here because I want to get into our topic, and this will help me to do that. Actually, and I have a video here real quick. I'm sorry. This was a child that I adjusted yesterday, and I'm hoping you'll be able to hear the sound, but the sound's not very good. This was a mom just holding a phone, and she was so excited that her daughter was going to get adjusted, and wanted to film it. So many of you have these moments with your patients where they bring in their kids, and to me, it is such an honor when a parent hands you their child and says, "Please make sure my child grows up tall and straight and subluxation free." And so this was just from yesterday. I thought I would just share this with you. I'm not sure if you can hear the sound of me talking.
Oh, oh, wow. Thank you.
There's the giggle. Kids love to get adjusted.
I think we both have allergies or something. Stay fine. Stay fine. That's right. Spine.
I was saying, say spine, and she said spine. Look at that. Big smile. Big smile. Kids love to get adjusted.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully you take care of children and you have moments like that where kids get excited. That was that child's very first chiropractic adjustment. And I just have to say, I'm honored to be able to help that child to grow up tall and straight, as I said in the video. Once they get a little older, for her, she, saying spine was a big deal. But then we get into, can you say subluxation? And can you say pinched nerve? And do you remember where these nerves go in the body? I mean, I take care of so many kids. I have sort of these ways of teaching them about the basics of neural pathways, nerve pathways, anatomy, and the benefits of having a healthy spine and a healthy nervous system through chiropractic care. So, these are this is going to be our frontline warriors. This girl's going to be, someday she's going to grow up and she's going to be an adult and she's going to have kids of her own. And if we can start to plant the seed now, then her and the generations after her will have that foundation of taking good care of your spine and nervous system through chiropractic care to ensure the health of future generations. So I think it's really important that we're all taking care of children and planting those seeds and using the time that we have with them to educate them. All right, so let's get into our topic today. I'll jump ahead here. Oops. There we go. And this is team accountability. Now, remember, the next seminar, January 13th, come to Santa Cruz. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be very educational. And if you're thinking, well, I already have my CAs, what do I need to go to Santa Cruz for that? We're going to talk about how to train your CAs. And I have actually, where did I put? I just bought a new book. And actually, I set it down as I was coming into the office, and I don't see it right now. So where did I put that book? It's a great book. I'm sorry, I'm just looking for it quickly because it'll be worth. Yes, I found it. It'll be worth it if I can find it. So this book that I just got, I always like to share good books that I've come across. Let me stop the share real quick. But I want to share this with you because this is a great book. It's called OKR, Master the Performance Framework that Google perfected. Just a small book too. Look at that. It's just a quick read, nothing too long or lengthy. You could read this in probably half an hour. But this book is chock full of valuable information when it comes to running a successful team, having clear objectives for your practice, and then basically delegating or working with your team to have key results that are measurable based on that objective. That's what OKR stands for, objectives and key results. So this is a great book. I encourage you to pick this up. I got it at Amazon. I think it was like $10 or something. So very inexpensive investment in yourself and an educational tool that you can share with your team. So just wanted to share that with you because where does that lead us? Now, before I even change, I just want to reiterate this because this book is the springboard right into our topic today. Why is that? Because objectives and key results equals what? Team accountability. Okay, so this is a really, really perfect or well-timed book to share with you. And let's get right into this and I'll show you. So here's team accountability. This is a historical picture from my practice. This is the first time I adjusted 200 patients in one day by myself, right? There was a billing person that we brought in. So technically I had 4 CAs. We saw 201 patients that day. We were pretty excited and wanted to celebrate. So we took a picture. So that's another example of having those objectives clearly laid out. When I saw Dr. Kanich come on, Dr. John, I just want to thank you because you turned me on to a book that has really been instrumental. I've really enjoyed it. And that book is called Measure What Matters. Measure What Matters. So for those of you writing down names of books, but I found this book, John, and I wanted to share it with you. So this is another great book. This one's much thinner than the Measure What Matters. So this is a pretty quick read, but it's along the same lines. And I think so Measure What Matters goes into like stories and examples. It's a great book. This book sort of takes the components from that book or the key items and in a more step-by-step way. So just wanted to share that with you, Dr. John, and also to thank you for turning me on to the Measure What Matters book. You might want to pick up a copy of this as well. Okay, so let's jump into our topic here because this is really important, and it's important for having your practice be successful at whatever level you want it to be. I mean, it could be that you want to have 5 patients a day and spend time with your family the rest of the time. It might be that you want to see 500 patients a day. You might want to have an insurance practice, a personal injury practice, an all cash practice. Having clear objectives and key results that are measurable is the foundation for whatever type of successful practice you want to have. Okay, that's really, really kind of the message for today. I want to break down how to start taking this through an implementation process. So how do you start to build team accountability? Well, we do it through responsibilities. When each person on your team knows clearly what they're responsible for, so there's your objectives, and how it's measured, there's your key results, then you're going to have a much more successful congruent practice, and you're protecting your bottom line and profitability as well. So the PCA, your primary chiropractic assistant, is responsible for the weekly report. And I've shared that with you on the website. I'm not going to pull it up right now, but we have the weekly report for you as part of your DC trainings materials. So you'll want to make sure that you get that report and use that and assign that to sort of your office manager. I call that person the primary CA. It could be that it's just you, the doctor, and you want to have that weekly report, but somebody needs to get the numbers onto that page on a weekly basis. From that page, those results get inputted into the goals tracking system. And I'll show you that in a moment as well. So once it's in the goals tracking system, then you can see how the success rates turn out. So those success rates are the result of the key results. I'm using the OKR terminology today, but the action steps are what give you your success rates in terms of how you're doing towards the goals and the objectives that you set for your practice. So those are produced by the PDC, meaning that I, as the PDC, the primary doctor of chiropractic, the practice owner, I go into the goals tracking system and I print out those reports. And then those are the basis for some of our most important meetings around our action steps and our objectives. Okay, so here's some pointers around the meetings. Now I'm going to go through a list here of meetings in a moment just to set the framework for how you want to set these up. And in this way, you'll be more organized, you'll be able to delegate better, and you'll have people on your team who are accountable and responsible enough to give you the results that you're looking for. So the first thing is have regular meetings, right? Schedule those meetings. They must be regular, they must be punctual, and they must have a consistent format. So people know what to expect, they know what's expected of them, they know where to be, and they know what time to be there, right? Very important. Or what happens if you don't have this? Time is wasted. The meetings are not regular. They're certainly not punctual. They start late, they waste time, they run over, and there is no accountability, meaning that everybody just comes into work and works hard, but at the end of the day, what is there to show for that? Well, that's questionable. It could be great, it could be not. So actually in the book that Dr. Knit shared with me, Measure What Matters, there's a great quote in there. And it says, if more than one person is accountable for a key result, they call them key result, but I'm going to call it a goal. If more than one person is accountable, then nobody's accountable. I'll say that again. If more than one person is accountable, then nobody is accountable, because we'll just do some finger pointing and then it's not me that did it, it was that person, right? So we have to have that real specificity implemented into our processes in order to achieve an accountable result or a measurable result and achieve the goals that you want to get to. So here's the general meeting format. We start the meeting out, we share our mission statement. And our mission statement is more general. This is the objective. This is the why are we doing what we're doing as it relates to this specific area of the practice. It's the why, right? My mission statement for chiropractic is I am the best chiropractor I can be for as long as I'm able. That's my mission statement. I'm the best chiropractor I can be for as long as I'm able. And that drives me. Now you're going to come up with your own, or maybe you already have, and the words are going to be the words that have the most meaning for you, but it needs to be custom for you. And I of course, I got my ideas from other people before me that shared those with me. So you might take what I'm sharing with you and kind of formulate your own, but the more you can make it your own, the more ownership you'll have around it. Number two, we're going to cover the previous meeting notes. So what did we talk about last time? And where did we leave off? Was it accomplished? Or, as you see on the screen, is there a CO, which stands for carryover? Do we carry it over to the next meeting? And sometimes it'll carry over for a couple meetings. So in my notes, you'll see, and actually, I just have to tell you, because I do walk my talk. This is on my desk right now. Here is my weekly report dated November 6th, right? So this is last week's meeting notes. and last week's weekly report. At the end of this week, I'll get another one. But this is November 6th. These are our notes. This is exactly what we did. Boy, we hit it. We were so close on our PV. We basically hit everything, lots of 100%, and even over 100%, except for PV, patient visits. We came up at 98%. Ugh, that's just the stuff. That's the stuff that wakes me up in the middle of the night. We were that close, 98%. But beyond that, this is our numbers, right? This is for the whole week. Now, on the back of this is our meeting minutes. So this week, when we had our weekly meeting, this is the notes that we wrote down, and this is what was done here. This is what was hopefully accomplished. If not, next week on Monday, when we have our meeting, I'll probably put a CO by a couple of these, and CO stands for carryover. Now, if it gets carried over again, what would I write? I would write CO2, CO3, CO4. So I have a real exact track record of how many times has this been carried over. Is it not getting done because somebody's putting it off, or is it not getting done because it really isn't that important? Well, we'll figure that out in our meetings, right? So you want to have exact notes, and those notes get carried over or they get checked off as accomplished. The next one is the success rates and action steps. So each person reports, that's why it just says reports. Each person reports on their specific area of accountability. So in my example, Kiara is responsible for patient visits. Now, in those patient visits, like I said, because we came up just a little bit short this week, she comes to the meeting prepared, and she knows, hey, we came up short. What can we do to actually improve that number next week and hit 100% or higher? And she's prepared with that. And that's why she's reporting on both her success rate and the action steps. What didn't we do right? How far did we miss it? What can we do next week to make it happen? Is there any help that this person needs from others on the team, right? So we want to report on that stuff. And once that's done, then it comes full circle back to me. I report on overall how the practice is doing or general areas, and I report on the assignments, which means from the last week, you were assigned this, did it get done? You were assigned that, did that get done? He was assigned this, what's the status? She was assigned that. Any challenges on that, or is it still a work in progress? That type of thing. So that's where the reporting comes in with assignments. So we can check those off the list, or we can do a carryover. Then there's open discussion. And the open discussion is what else is happening? Is there any stuck points? Is there any big successes? Anything you want to share that was a really great thing? Open discussion happens. And then we repeat our weekly goals. Okay, so we're going into the new week. For you, what's your measurable? All right, for you, what's your goal? For you, what's your success rate? And we go around the circle and everybody repeats those. So those are the 6 steps that we go through. And I'll just add a couple points before we leave this screen for the reports in our meetings, because we want to keep them down at about 30 minutes. And there's 5 of us, right? There's myself, my CAs, and my associate doctor. So there's 5 of us. And in those reports, each person gets 5 minutes. So we have our opening section, that's about 5 minutes. Then we have the reports, 5 minutes each times 5, that's 25. So we're at 30 minutes. Then I go through the report and assignments. That's also limited to 5 minutes. So there's 40 minutes now. Then we have open discussion for 10 minutes. Then we repeat our weekly goals at 5 minutes. And that brings full circle for the meeting at 45 minutes. Okay, so that's our general meeting format. Now we're going to go through and we're going to break this format down into individual meetings. And each one of these is really important, right? We have our daily meeting. Every morning we have a morning huddle. It's 5 minutes and we go through a format. It's kind of similar from what I described earlier, but it's much more abbreviated because it's only a 5-minute daily huddle. We say, okay, what's our schedule look like today in terms of new patients, patient visits, revenue, report of findings, care plan renewals, and any stuck points or anything we need help with? Nope, we're good. Let's go. Okay, great. And we go right into it and start the day. That's for the daily. I'll show you actually here. So we add the goals are on the weekly report already. So the goals are reviewed for what the day looks like. We compare the goals to actual. So if our goal is, say, 4 new patients for the day, how many are actually on the schedule? If there's 3, we've got work to do quickly. Let's try to find another one. Maybe we can do some marketing calls, some orientation referral calls, something to add at least 1 more new patient to the schedule so we can hit our goal. Ideally, more like 2 new patients to the schedule so that if anybody else reschedules or misses their appointment, we're still going to hit the goal. And the same for patient visits and the same for revenue. Then at the end of the day, the team takes the results from the day and they add them to the weekly report. So they get written into that weekly report at the end of the day. That way it's kept current and up to date in real time. And that's the end. Okay, so I'm sorry. That's our daily meeting. There's a huddle at the beginning. We compare our goals to actuals, and then at the end of the day, everyone adds their results. Now let's go to the weekly meeting. The weekly is the one I just described a minute ago. There's a little more to it. So you're going to start to see a little redundancy here, but we'll add factors into different meetings as it applies. So as you just saw, the 5-minute morning huddle, that we pulled out a couple items for that one. Then in the weekly meeting, we have our mission statement. We review the previous meeting notes. We report on success rates and action steps. The PDC reports on those results and gives assignments. There's an open discussion. We repeat the weekly goals, right? Look familiar? You're going to start to see a real pattern here. Why? Because as we started out in the beginning by saying, what is it that's so important about meetings? They must be what? Regular and punctual with a consistent format. Regular, punctual, and a consistent format. So that's what we're following right now with each of these. Okay, so now let's go to the monthly meeting. The monthly meeting happens on the first weekly meeting of the month. Oh, there we go. First weekly meeting of the month with just a couple added pieces to it. So I'm going to go through this quickly because you're going to see the same consistent format, right? We have a mission statement, previous meeting notes, monthly success rates. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up. Here's a difference, right? The success rate reports now are relating to the month, not the week. So we expand the timeline and we say, not last week we had 100% success rate on new patients, for example, but for the month, last month, we read 125% of our success rates. Good job, everybody. How'd we do it? What was it? I mean, what made that happen? That's a great success rate. What did you do and how did you do it? And, what can we help with for the next time so we hit the same thing again? Then I report on the success rates and the assignments. That's the PDC. There's open discussion. We repeat the weekly goals and the monthly goals now, right? We want to repeat the monthly goals too. How are we doing and how are we tracking towards our goals for the year? So that's the monthly. Then there's a quarterly. Now, quarterly, as you'll notice on the timeline, happens, it's separate from those other meetings. It's 2 to 4 hours. You could even make it a full day and I'll add that to that in just a second. I'll explain more, but it's a half-day meeting during production times, meaning you don't cancel appointments for patients. You don't cancel patient times. This is a half-day meeting that's going to happen when you're not seeing patients so that you can get into real deep, in-depth goal setting and strategic planning, right? So it's a half-day meeting during production time. It's away from the practice. We want to provide food, right? We want to get out of our work mode. We want to get into deep thinking, strategizing, brainstorming. That's the point of this meeting. So we don't want to do this in the office. We want to do this away from the office. Let's go get some food. Let's go out to lunch. And we're going to really dive in, right? So the first part is the PDC reviews current success rates. Those success rates are the basis for how this meeting is going to go. Once that's done, I also review the notes from the last quarter. Now, what happened in the last quarter? We had these 4 or 5 action steps, and were they accomplished? Are they done? Is there going to be a carryover? That spills over into team reports, meaning that each person on the team compares the last quarter notes, if there were any applicable to them, with their reporting for their success rates. So as I might say, the review of success rates from last quarter, excuse me, shows that The overall success rate for report of findings was at 84%. Then each CA reports on their own success rates for report of findings. And this actually just happened in our last quarter meeting because we have a brand new CA that just started doing reports of findings. Brenda, who's been with me now, we've worked together for 15 years now. So she knows this stuff. She gave her reports and they were very good. I think she was at 86% or 87%. She might have even been higher. Then Anna, who's worked with us for just a little over 6 months, her reports came in and her reports came in at 76%. So let me actually open this up because I want to just share this with you. So our threshold for report of findings says that we want to be at 80% or higher for our report of findings, meaning that out of 10 reports of findings, 8 or more patients sign up for care, and that care is lifetime care 1 year at a time. So it's a 12-month care plan. 8 out of 10 new patients should sign up for that care plan. 2, maybe not, right? So Brenda's report was at 86%. Anna's was at 76%. Now, 76 is below that threshold, right? So let's go back to my screen. So what did we do? What do we do when, I mean, it's easy to high five when somebody says my results are 86%. They're supposed to be above 80. Great, good job. How'd you do it? Anything we can learn from? But when we got into the individuals here, we had one individual that is at 76%. So we all chime in and we say, okay, do you need help from us? What can we help with? And it came out. What came out was when insurance is involved, she wasn't really clear on how to lay out the financial arrangements on a care plan when part of that income was going to be coming from an insurance company. She knew how to do it for cash, no problem. She knew that, but it was the insurance part that she didn't know. And that had dropped her success rate by 4 percentage points or 4 basis points below the threshold that we're looking for. So we all chimed in and we helped her, and now she's actually getting right on track. She's doing great. In fact, we're now in November, and she did actually. I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you in just a minute. How much it jumped. You're going to love this. Oops, I'm sorry. I went the wrong way. I need to share my screen and go back to the next slide. So I'll show you that in just a minute. Bear with me. Okay, so from there, we assign new action steps, right? Because the individual results were discussed as a team, and new action steps are assigned because some of the action steps now might be different than the ones before, and it might be based on input from the team as far as how we're going to make sure that these numbers happen. Then, oh, I'm sorry, these are the unique aspects of that meeting. So in the quarterly meeting, if you need to, adjust your goals and bonuses. What does that mean? That means that maybe we shot the goal or we aimed too high for the goal. And on hindsight, we're realizing that because we aimed too high, it's not even a reasonable goal that we can reach. Okay, let's adjust it down. Maybe drop it by 20%. That's fine. Maybe we overshot it. Maybe we were too conservative in our goals and we completely blew past it. Well, add 20% on that. That's fine. But either way, give yourself room to adjust those. And do it together as a team. Like, what's reasonable? You know, we don't want to just coast through this without having to work for it. That doesn't really give you a feeling of accomplishment when things come too easily. So we want our goals to be a stretch, but we also want to make sure that they're attainable, and combine that with a fun day event. We have plans for our next fun day. We're going to go, we live by Big Basin Park in Santa Cruz, and the Big Basin Park is just this beautiful expanse of redwood trees. They're 1,000-year-old redwood trees. And as a group, the team decided they wanted to do a hike through the redwood trees for our next fun day. So next time we have our quarterly meeting, we're going to go out and have a hike in the redwoods together as a team. We'll take a picnic, and that's going to be our fun celebration after the goals. All right, let's go through these last couple quickly because I want to jump into the website and show you our materials for this time. And I also want to show you the success rates with how that changed for the CA after we did exactly what I'm showing you. I mean, we did it to the T, exactly what I'm showing you, and you'll see what happened with the success rates. All right, so the next meeting after the quarterly meeting is a yearly meeting. And this one, all of you should be getting ready for this because this is the meeting that's going to happen in January, or you might choose to have it a little early. You might choose to have it in December, and that's okay. But you should be gearing up and getting ready for this meeting to happen in the very, very near future. So it's a full day meeting on a non-patient day. So take a whole day, whether if you work all week, plan it for a Saturday. If for us, we don't see patients on Thursdays. So we do it on a Thursday, but it's a full day. We go out and we have a great time and we make it a full day. So here's the flow of that meeting. The first step, the PDC reviews success rates for the year, right? Based on our goals that we set at the beginning of the year, how did the dust settle out? How did it play out when the dust settled in terms of reaching those numbers, right? Were we reasonable? Did we overshoot it? Were we too conservative? How did it feel? So we review those success rates. Then each person reports on their focus, meaning what number were they accountable for? They may have had help from the whole team, but there should be a specific person that's responsible for reporting a single number, right? Remember what I told you, if more than one person's accountable, then nobody's accountable. Then the new yearly goals and action steps. So we set new goals. Let's talk about what we want to do this year. What's going to be reasonable? What do we want to aim for, right? Set new goals with action steps, and then take the goals for the whole year and divide them down to the quarter. So let's say you had, I'll just make the numbers real easy, 100 new patients for the year, real easy number, because then you would divide that by 4, right? So we're going to have 2.5 new patients per quarter, and then divide that by 3, which is, I don't know what that is, but 1.75 or something like that. Divide that down to the 3, and then divide that down, that gives you the monthly. On the monthly, divided by 4, that'll give you the weekly. And then however many days you're open during the week, let's just say 5, divide that number by 5, and you'll get the day. So reduce it to quarter, month, week, and day. Divide it all the way down. And then assign new action steps based on what those goals are. I'll just give you a little example here, but let's suppose that you've been seeing a certain number of patient visits on a daily basis, and you set new goals for next year that are higher than what you've been accomplishing or seeing, right? You want to bump up your patient visit numbers for next year, which I'm always in favor of, by the way, always. But let's say you want to bump those up. Well, the things that you should be talking about as far as action steps would be, how is a bump in volume going to affect our existing patients? Are existing patients going to have to wait longer? Are they, because they probably won't like that. Are they going to have to have a different flow in the office? Is the doctor going to be talking to them less? Is the front desk going to be talking to them less? Right? All these changes need to be taken into account. And then the action steps need to be designed around that, right? Maybe you incorporate, because you've been spending more time talking to patients, and that's not a bad thing, but to serve more patients, maybe you want to spend less conversation time, more time focused on adjusting. So you decide we're going to incorporate ouch forms. And by incorporating ouch forms, patients won't need to spend as much time explaining their symptoms. We can read it on the ouch form, we can check them and adjust them and care for them properly without the conversation being longer than it needs to be. The front desk, likewise. Maybe you have patients that like to come in and talk at the front desk and catch up on the current events of what's happening. You might have to trim that down a little bit to serve more patients, or else your existing patients will get put off when they come back in expecting to continue a long conversation last time. And this time they're cut short because your practice is busier and the front desk doesn't have time for it. So these are the kinds of things you want to look for in your practice. Is there any bottlenecks? Is there any speed bumps? Is there any subluxations that are preventing this flow that we want to work on? You might want to bump up your new patients. Well, for every new patient that comes in, that's easy. But what about setting up their profile? Maybe they have an insurance profile. Maybe they have a profile as far as a patient in your office. Maybe they have to have a file. Maybe setting up their care plan takes more time. Maybe you have to schedule more reports of findings in order to handle the bump in new patients. See, these are all examples that you want to comb through and talk about in your strategic planning, and you want to customize and formulate your action steps around those action steps. I mean, those new goals. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. Okay. Then here's some unique aspects of the yearly meeting. We want to have these away from the practice. So get out of the office, go have fun, buy lunch, buy dinner. We want to set new goals and set the threshold for new bonuses, which I'll show you shortly, and have a year-end company party, right? How many of you have a date set for your year-end company party already? Very nice. A couple of you do. Okay, great. Yeah, you want to have that year-end company party. Get out, go have, some cocktails or have some good food or whatever excites you and your team. And you want to do this away from work. So that's the unique aspects of the yearly meeting. With consistent meetings, we assign focuses and we view success rates. And here's how the corrective or the coaching comes into it. You as a business owner have to know that you can meet with your team and talk with them and strategize with them. And at times with that relationship, there's going to be times when you're congratulating. Like on the screen, it says for success rates above 100%. And I'll show you that in just a moment. But there's also going to be times where it's not so much fun because the success rates are under 100%. So there's more of a confrontation aspect to that meeting. Either way, delegation is required, right? If more than one person's accountable, well, first of all, if no one's accountable, there will be no results. If more than one person's accountable, then nobody's accountable. So make sure that you've delegated everything out that you need delegated so that all those action items get done. I'll give you an example because I know for the CAs on the call, you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, they're just going to delegate everything onto my plate. Sorry, I keep having something in my eye there. But how many doctors on the call right now handle your payroll? Well, I don't think you've delegated that out to all your CAs. I mean, maybe you don't specifically run payroll. Maybe you hire a company like Paychex or ADP to do your payroll, but I'm sure you're inspecting what your payroll costs look like. You don't just delegate that out. So there's lots of responsibilities as a practice owner that kind of run behind the scenes and are maybe a little more invisible. So CAs, I don't want you to feel like we're just going to dump everything on your plate and not have anything left for ourselves. No, we all have lots of work to do. And it takes a lot to run and maintain a successful practice. So there will be balance. Trust me, it'll happen. Okay, so let's keep going. Regularly scheduled meetings ensure best results and a strong morale for the entire team, right? These scheduled meetings cater to accountability. They cater to better results, and they also develop that strong morale. So we want to play to win and enjoy the ride. And that brings us to the end of that section there. So let me actually bring this screen over. There we go. And I want to show you the materials that we have for this week. So let's see, I'm going to start right here. Here's the team accountability outline. And this one you saw on the slide, there was kind of some ... sections on these right here. So for success rates above 100%, these are the steps you're going to take. For success rates below 100%, these are the steps you're going to take. Now it says at the top, assign one or more focuses to each individual who then follows a predetermined strategy, tracks progress, and reports results. These results are reported at various meetings from the preceding time period, i.e. quarterly result at the quarterly meeting, daily result at the daily meeting, weekly result at the weekly meeting, in the form of a success rate. As far as focuses, there's specific areas of a practice that are used to measure success rates. And there are 4. There's new patients, patient visits, conversion rates, which you could subdivide into 2, report of findings and care plan renewals, and revenue. So the success rate means the percentage of success as it relates to a specific goal. Okay, so we have a focus, which is going to be assigned to somebody, right? So there's somebody that's accountable for that. And there's a success rate, which basically measures the score that they're hitting as it relates to the goals that were set. So then you can read through these steps. One thing I'll just point out is if a success rate remains below 100%, there's only 2 solutions. And I know that this can sometimes be a little tough, but the first is the easier of the 2. Adjust the goal so acceptable success rates are achievable, or 2, issue a warning that requires the responsible individual to perform differently. And then down here at the bottom, if a team member is not achieving the intended goals, the team works together to design a new strategy and then hold the individual accountable for using the agreed upon system and reaching the goal. If the individual fails to perform, termination of employment may be required. If termination of employment is required, do not delay or the morale of the entire team will suffer. Okay, this is really important. Now, Well, I think I don't even need to say any more about that. That's important. So this is actually one of the top 5, in my opinion, most important materials within DC trainings is this document right here. You should laminate this. Doctors, put it in your desk, reference it whenever you have a challenge like this come up, or you're getting ready to congratulate someone on their results. Grab this, review it, and follow these steps. Let's jump into the marketing calendar. So for marketing, because we want to have somebody accountable, now is a good time to start planning your marketing for next year. Set up your marketing in a way that you have a guaranteed income or inflow of new patients on a regular basis. This is a blank one that you can download off the website. This is a sample from my office with some ideas that you can use as you go through the year. Okay, and actually, right here it says Valentine's Day raffle. We're having our holiday raffle that started right now, and just in this week alone, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we have a box that's filled up with tickets. It's really very impressive. There's a lot of patients excited to be part of this raffle. We've got some big prizes that we're giving out. So for more on that, you can see the other section in module 6. It's called referral marketing. But there's your calendar. So fill that out for job security. If you want to know where your new patients are coming from, use the marketing source report. So when we have offices where there's a lot of new patients coming in from a lot of different places, and you want to know, how's our marketing working? Like, how many attorney referrals have we had in the last month? How many patients have found us on the internet in the last month? This is your tracking tool. And we use this to specifically follow where our new patients are coming from. So every new patient that calls in, one of these gets filled out for them. So it has the name, phone number, cell number, email. You don't have to actually fill all of that out. I like to, but I have to be honest, because I'm in practice like you. We don't always fill all that out because it gets put in the system. Sometimes when a patient calls, if they don't schedule, then my CA, I see that, right? So if John, good patient, called and said, hey, what are your hours? And my CA didn't follow her script and said, oh, well, we're open from 8 to 5. And the patient said, oh, I don't get off work till 5. I can't come in. Thanks. I'll call someone else. Bye. Click, and then hangs up before the CA has a chance to work with them. They'll have a name here and no phone numbers. And then I would say, well, what happened? And as it turns out in this example, maybe the CA didn't follow the scripts, because the script says when a patient says, what are your hours? You want to say, when do you want to come in? And build rapport with them, because then they'll be more likely to schedule with you. So anyways, that gets filled out for each phone call. And from the phone calls that come in, you want to know how many of those actually translated to a new patient appointment and how many of them translated to a new patient that came in. So these are all statistics, or if you want to call it the analytics of how well your office is performing. So that's the marketing source report. Let's see. And then the last one is the bonus for net revenue. Now this one, we're going to run out of time if I go into this too much in detail. So I'll just say, please look at this one carefully. And if you're not using it already, look at it even more carefully, because this is a driver for productivity in your practice. My CAs are hungry over this thing. And I'll tell you, I just wrote some big bonus checks last week for the month of October. So this is a driver. You want to have your team be self-driven and have their own KRs, key results, that they're driving for. You want to have a good bonus plan in place. So take a look at that. If you have questions on it, let me know. But this is a major, major tool of any successful practice as far as having a team-driven, self-motivated practice. Okay, so with that, though, I want to go back to here and show you these success rate reports, because we had some great, I might have to log in again. Let's see. Is it going to have me log in? It's thinking, huh? Oh, what happened here? Oh, there it goes. Okay, so let me look at our success rate reports with you. And oops, let's see. Yeah, for new patients. So Anna is our new patient CA. So I'm going to click on her name, new patient, say submit. In the success rate reports, it's going to show exactly how she's doing. And I don't share any numbers, so your numbers are totally confidential and safe with me. I like to share my numbers with you just by example so you can learn from this. But just know, for all the doctors on the call, I don't share any of your numbers with anybody. But in this case, you'll see that we had a trend. Like we started out the year with strong success rates. going good. And then something happened in July, August, and September. Look at that. Look at that drop. 70, it went from 102 down to 74, 67, 74. And whoa, that was a big drop, right? So that as a result of that, we had a meeting and the action steps were reviewed and the steps we found some things that were missing. We changed those. And look at that. As a result of changing our action steps based on the success rates, our next month was at 111% of our goal. So we had a real strong turnaround. And this month, it's not showing it yet, but we're definitely on track to blow through that again and bump that up significantly. So I show you that because the things that I've just shown you today on this webinar with the steps that you want to go through for staff accountability and team accountability, it pays off in big ways because you'll have people on your team that create ownership around their role and their accountability or their focus. They'll have that ownership around it and they'll make things happen, which is really exciting. So anyway, so that is our materials. I had an email that came in, and this is actually from one of our new members. So welcome to DC Trainings. So as always, it's great to be with you. And I just, in the spirit of the meeting I had last night where my office was completely full of chiropractors, which I just love. It's great to get together with chiropractors and share our stories and philosophies and just talk about what we do, which is just so incredibly fun and exciting and helpful for so many people. So in that spirit, I will look forward to seeing you in person in January on the 13th. So mark your calendars for January 13th. Come to Santa Cruz. We've got hotels nearby. We've got restaurants. We're going to have a great time. And we're going to dive into team development, which just as Dr. Marsh was talking about, maybe you'll come, Dr. Marsh, with your new CA, and we can go through that aspect as well. But in the meantime, as always, if you have any questions for me, email us dctrainings@gmail.com. We're in the holiday season. Have a very happy, healthy, and subluxation-free Thanksgiving celebration with your family. I always give a toast during Thanksgiving at the dinner table with our families, and I hold up a glass and say, here's to being subluxation-free. And I always get a great chuckle out of that from my family members because they think I'm such a fanatic, but it's always a good time. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you and your families. Give thanks for good health, and I will talk to you very soon. Happy holidays.
If you would like to become a member of DC Trainings, be sure to head on over to dctrainings.com to get started today.